Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Shamaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sharvakaye Sarvada Saraswate Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambam Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Mishada Suklam Baradaram Vishnum Hashivaranam Chaturpujam Prasannavaranam Yaye Sharva Vigno Pashantaye. Salutations to Lord Hanuman, who is present wherever and whenever the names of Lord Rama is being chanted, or wherever and whenever Ramayana is being read. Yatra yatra Raghunama Kirtanam, Tatra Tatra Krishnamasta Kanjalim, Bashpavari Paripurna Lochanam, Marutihim Namatta Raksha Shantakam. Pujantam Ramarameti Maduram Maduraksharam Aruya Kavita Shakam Vande Valmiki Kokilam. So Jai Sri Ram to everyone. We are now
Jai Sri Ram, Jai Sri
Sri
Ram.
Ram. We are now in the 30th session of our Srimad Valmiki Ramayanam class in Yuddhakandam. So 30th session. After this session, we have 2 more to go. So before we go into 30th session to look at what are the areas or the chapters that we are covering in the 30th session. In the 30th session, we'll be looking at chapters 93 to 108 of Yuddhakandam. So Ravana Vadam will be covered in this session, session 30th session. So before we look at session 30, let's recap what we have learned in the last session, 29th session. So in the last session, 29th session was a session where we learned about the Indrajit Vadam. Okay, Indrajit has been killed by Lakshmana. Okay, the chapters that we covered during the last session was from chapter 80 to chapter 92. So if you recall, in chapter 80, Ravana will instruct Indrajit to enter the battlefield. Because the previous chapter 79, Ravana entered the battlefield. So he entered the battlefield, he fought with many warriors. He fought with Sugriva, he fought with Hanuman, he fought with Nila, he fought with Lakshmana, and he also fought with Rama. So when he fought with Rama, what happened to Ravana? Rama defeated Ravana. So Ravana felt demoralized, dejected, okay, devastated. So he entered Lanka. So at that particular moment of time, Indrajit came. So his son, he considered his son to be one of the greatest warriors because his son, Indrajit, have conquered even Indra. So what Ravana did, he instructed Indrajit to enter the battlefield. So Indrajit, as usual, before he goes to the battlefield, he will do all the pujas, but not to Nikumbila yet. Okay, he will do the pujas, and then he went to the battlefield. So when he went to the battlefield, what Indrajit did, he created the illusory image of Mother Sita. So he, with the image of Sita, illusory image of Sita, he killed the image of Sita. Then when Hanuman and all the Vanaras were there, saw that, they were shocked, and immediately Hanuman and the Vanaras went to report to Rama. But Vibhishana knew the secret of Indrajit, and Vibhishana and informed Hanuman, Rama, and everyone that what Indrajit did, he just killed the illusory Sita, not the real Sita. And Vibhishana revealed the secret about Indrajit. That is, he will be now going to Nikumbila in order to perform a yajna. And once he comes back from Nikumbila after performing the yajna, he will not be defeated by anybody. So he requested Rama to send Lakshmana with him and also the armies of Vanara in order to go to Nikumbila in order to distract the yajna of Indrajit so that his yajna will not be completed, and once if he comes out without being completed, he will be killed. So when his yajna has when the yajna has been disrupted, Indrajit enters. Can you hear me? Okay, okay, all right. Sure. Indrajit enters into the battlefield and he saw Vibhishana. He spoke harsh words to Vibhishana. Like he said, Vibhishana, you are a traitor. You need to be destroyed. So regarding character of Vibhishana, I'm sure you have read the character analysis that was sent to you earlier. Okay, character analysis of Vibhishana, and you have Kumbhakarna and also Ravana. So Vibhishana and Kumbhakarna, you have to look into, both have their own dharma. Remember, I also quoted something similar from the Mahabharata. We have Yuyutsu and also Vikarna. Okay, so he had gave a harsh words to Vibhishana, and then a fierce battle started between Lakshmana and Indrajit, and finally Indrajit was killed by Lakshmana. So in order to kill Indrajit, Lakshmana used Indra astra of Indra in order to kill Indrajit. And when he, before releasing the astra, he said, if Rama, he's a Dharmatma, true to his word, let this arrow takes the life of son of Ravana, Indrajit. And then that's it, Indrajit has been killed. And of course, after that, they were treated by Susena. And when Ravana heard the news that Indrajit, his son, has been killed, he was devastated. And during the last session, I have also given some notes about Indrajit. Why Indrajit is because after the coronation of Rama, you will find in Uttarakandam of Valmiki Ramayana, which is book number 7. After the coronation of Rama, Rama was visited by many sages. So there are many discussions. So the sages praise Rama because Indrajit has been killed. So Rama will be asking, why do you highlight Indrajit? Why not Ravana? Why not Kumbhakarna? Then they will be narrating about Indrajit. Indrajit is somebody, they say, is very difficult to be overcome. So there's some details about Indrajit will be given, but Valmiki Ramayana will not go into very detail. But there are some regional Ramayanas. If you go through, some information about Indrajit will be available. Okay, in Valmiki Ramayana given Indrajit born as Meghanada. Meghanada, the eldest son of Ravana and Mandodari. Other sons of Ravana and Mandodari is Akshaya, Kumara, Trishira, Devantaka, Narantaka. Okay, it was said that when Indrajit was born, his sound, his cry was like a thunder. So they called him Meghanada, Mega the cloud, Nada the sound. And it was said in Uttarakanda reports, it is mentioned in the Uttarakanda that he fought Indra and he defeated Indra. That is why he was known as Indrajit. And after Indrajit conquered Indra, he goes and conquer other worlds. So when he reached Nagaloka, he fought with Vasuki and defeated Vasuki, the king of Nagas. And Vasuki cursed Indrajit, that his elder brother, Seshanaga, will kill him. So Seshanaga is Lakshmana. So to counter the act of curse of Indrajit, Indrajit married Seshanaga's daughter, that is Sulochana, thinking that Seshanaga will not kill his own son-in-law. But Seshanaga promised to kill Indrajit anyhow. And Indrajit told Seshanaga nobody can kill him Only one who have not slept for 12 years, brahmachari, for that particular period of time is able to kill him. So Seshanaga came as Lakshmana, who killed Indrajit without sleeping for 12 years and taking brahmacharya aurora at the same time. But these are not narrated in Valmiki. Valmiki did not did not narrate this particular information, but you will find from other sources, that is from the original Ramayana. It is well described there. And another important thing to note about Indrajit is that he's a great devotee of Kali and performed many rituals in Nikumbila hill. And it is said that if he completes the ritual, he goes to any battle, he will be unstoppable. It will make him invisible, unstoppable in a battlefield. And Sulochana, his wife, is a Naga princess. So he obtained some mastery of Naga weapons from her. That is how he tied Rama and Lakshmana with Naga weapon, where the sons of Kadru, okay, caught Rama and Lakshmana. Only when Garuda came, they were rescued. They were released from the astras of what they call Indrajit. Indrajit and Naga Astra. Okay, and that particular chapter on Naga Astram that has been released by Indrajit in Kamparamayanam, it is mentioned that anybody who reads that particular portion will not have any worry on any poisonous what do you call poisonous snakes or even any thing that are poisonous. Okay, now another thing about Indrajit, he was granted boon by Brahma that he can only be killed by a warrior who will live saintly life and own one over sleep. So that's why again we learn that only Lakshmana can kill him. That is why Vibhishana requested Rama to send Lakshmana with him. He knew that only possible for Lakshmana to kill. Nobody else would be able to kill Indrajit except Lakshmana. Okay, that is something about Vibhishana. Okay, Vibhishana, he imprisoned Indra, brought him as a prisoner before Ravana. Brahma requested him to release him, but after releasing him, he requested for a boon. He asked for immortality. Brahma said it is not possible, and then of course Indrajit requested for that boon that he would remain undefeated in battle as long as he would fight after performing worship to his deity at Nikumbila. So that was granted by Indra. But when before fighting with Lakshmana, his yajna was not completed. That was a reason why he was defeated by Lakshmana. So in the 30th session, we are going to look at chapters 93 to 108. The previous session, we learned about Indrajit Vadam. That is session 29. Session 28, we have looked at, previously we looked at Kumbhakarna. Kumbhakarna was killed and then Indrajit was killed. Now 93 to 108, chapter 108 will be Ravana Vadam. Ravana will be killed on the chapter 108. But we are going to look into how the battle between Rama and Ravana, okay, how Ravana appeared in the battlefield and what are the events that have taken place. Okay, it is said by Valmiki that the fight between Rama and Ravana took 7 days to complete. 7 days. So this chapter 93 is about Rama destroying the troops of demons, the Rakshasas. Rakshasas will lament on the deaths of their king and queen. They will be cursing Surpanakha. And then we will going to look into that part later. And then Ravana fight fiercely with the Vanaras. Then Sugriva will kill one of the Rakshasa, Virupaksha. Again, he will kill another Rakshasa called Mahodara. And Angada, son of Vali, will kill Mahaparshva. And the battle will begin between Rama and Ravana. And then what happens in the chapter 100, Ravana will go away from the battlefield. Of course, what happens is that Ravana will threw his weapon of Shakti towards Vibhishana, but intercepted by Lakshmana, and Lakshmana will be wounded. And of course, when Lakshmana wounded, he became unconscious. Again, Hanuman, Susena will request Hanuman to bring the Sanjeevi. in order to give for the life-giving herbs to Lakshmana. Okay? And of course, Ravana will again get severely hurt in a battle after that with Rama, and his charioteer will carry Ravana away from the battlefield. And Ravana will scold his charioteer, why do you carry me away? Why do you took me away? This is that will actually tarnish my reputation as a great warrior. And again, Ravana reapproach the battlefield. He enters into the battlefield again. So he was fighting with Rama. Okay. Then what happened is that at the time Rama and Ravana is fighting, Sage Agastya appeared, and then Sage Agastya advised Rama to pray to Sun. Aditya Hridayam will be given by Agastya, Sage Agastya to Rama to fight with Ravana. And then the Devas found that the fight between Rama and Ravana, Rama is just standing. Ravana has a chariot. So what happened? Brahma requested Indra to assist. So Indra will send his charioteer, Matali, to Rama. So Rama will go on a chariot and then fight with Ravana. Chariot that was sent by Indra. And then a fierce battle took place between Rama and Ravana. And finally, 108, chapter 108, we find that the battle completed with Rama killing Ravana. So Ravana Vadam will be completed in this session. Okay, session, 30th session. So again, if you look back into whatever we have looked at, Ravana received many signals, many signals. Starting, we have gone through this with you previously, level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. After level 4, level 5. So level 5 and all the great demons, powerful demons have been killed in the battle. Dumraksha, Durmukha, Virupaksha, all these demons have been then Prahastra. Then we had the Mahodra will be coming later. Then we have what they call Devantaka, Narantaka, Trishara. Then we have Adhikaya. Adhikaya is also one of his son through Danyamalini. Adhikaya. And then after that, Kumbhakarna was slain. Nikumba was slain. Then the son of Kara also was slain by Rama. And then finally, Indrajit, his son that he thought very powerful, undefeatable. Nobody can defeat him. He thought even Devas, even the Trimurtis also cannot defeat Indrajit. It was that's what Ravana said. Yet Indrajit also was defeated. Still, Ravana not able to. That's why he said that when the time of destruction comes, our intelligence will be bewildered. Vinashakale viparita buddhi. And Ravana also many things that are against him. All the curses. These are all some of the things that we have learned in the past. The curse from Parvati, the curse from Nandi, curse from Anaranya. Anaranya, one of the ancestors of Rama. When Ravana defeated him, he cursed one of the descendants of Ishvaku will going to come and kill him. Vedavati. When he violated Vedavati, Vedavati said he will be coming back for his death. Vedavati came in form of Sita. Then Ramba, Nalakubera, Kunjikastala, all these curses of Ravana. So Ravana time, even when he was entering the battlefield, Nimitta Shastra was not very good. It will be narrated later. The omens are not so good, but yet he entered into the battlefield. And finally, what happened? We know that he had no chance, no way he'll be able to defeat Rama because Rama had all the positive omen. Even Rama witnessed the Nimitta Shastra, which was very favorable to him. Okay, that's how Valmiki reported. Valmiki, the way he described the war, very detailed. But I'm not going to give you all the details here. But if you read that particular chapters of the war, in fact, Valmiki wrote the war between Rama and Ravana is incomparable. Cannot compare with anything. Just like he said, you can only compare sky with sky. You can only compare ocean with ocean. So the battle between Rama and Ravana is incomparable, just like Rama and Ravana. So you see something like beautifully it is narrated by and described by Valmiki. So in chapter 93, at Ravana's request, the entire army marched to the battlefield. The demons and the Vanaras immediately joined in a fierce battle, and the casualties were numberless on both sides. Both sides had large casualties. For the protection of Vanaras, Rama himself entered the battlefield, and with his mighty weapon, he cut down the demons. And the demons were greatly surprised by inconceivable might of Rama. Rama was so swift in the discharge of the missiles that the demon could not even see where he was. They shouted, "There he is, killing the army." They even saw each other as Rama and killed each other. Just like how Rama killed 14,000 demons in Janastana. So Rama used a missile that caused confusion. It's something like Mohanastra. Mohanastra was also used by Rama in Janastana when he killed 14,000 demons. And in Mahabharata, Mohanastra was used by Arjuna during the time when the Kauravas came to Virata kingdom. Okay, at that time, Arjuna was in form of Brihanlala. Brihanlala, he used Mohanahastra. And then after that, they knew it's now nobody could have done that except Arjuna. They knew it is Arjuna. Okay, Uttara Kumara became a charioteer for Arjuna at that time. Okay, in the war, because he used the Mohanahastra, and that because Arjuna was facing Bhishma, Drona, Karna, Duryodhana, Kripacharya, all the warriors were there. So Rama used this particular astra here. Okay, and they realized that there's only one Rama. Because based on this astra, they can see Rama everywhere. Okay, so in 3 hours, it was mentioned by Valmiki that 200,000 soldiers had been killed by Rama single-handedly. Okay, and Rama said to his companions, "Such power to use this missile is possessed only by me and Triambaka, Lord Shiva. Only Lord Shiva and Rama able to use this missile." This is what mentioned by Rama. And then what happened after that? In the 94th chapter, in Lanka, all the Rakshasis, demons, got together in groups and they started to cry, started to lament. What made that dreadful looking, cruel aged demoness, Rakshasi Surpanaka, cast a lustful eye on this charming Rama? It was surely our doom and doom of all the demons that prompted her to aspire for the love of Rama. They are going back to the incident from when Surpanaka tried to, during the Aranyakanda, the episode in Aranyakanda. And in the same way, it is surely our misfortune that tempted Virada to have evil intention on Sita. Even after that, our king had plenty of warnings. The Rakshasis are saying the king Ravana had plenty of warnings. The killing of Rama of 14,000 demons, Kara, Dushana, Trishara, Kabanda, killing of mighty Vali, enthronement of Sugriva. All these should have been sufficient warning to enable Ravana to assess the mind of Rama and desist from evil cause. Ravana also had a wise advice from Vibhishana. Vibhishana advised many times. If you are able to go through Valmiki Ramayana, at least 3 or more times Vibhishana did. If you are going from Sundarakanda, it is about 4 times Vibhishana did advise. Okay? He could have realized the might of Rama, even when Kumbhakarna was killed, or at least when Adhikaya was killed. Even in fall of Indrajit had not made him wise. It is sometimes very important for leadership. In this case, if you really do an analysis of leadership of Ravana, he was more concerned about himself. He was not concerned about his country, his people. His only his own concern is about himself. The same thing is also happening in many parts of the world. Leaders are only concerned about their own self. They are not concerned that by right, the leader or the king must take care of the entire people. Happiness of the people is the happiness of the leader. Kautilya in his Arthasastra mentioned, Praja Shuki Shukam Rajyam, Prajanam Jashite Hitam. Praja Shuki Shukam Rajyam. Praja, if the Praja people are happy, that is the happiness of the king. Happiness of the king lies in the happiness of the people. So when the people are not happy, it's because a king in those days, we are looking into, not only in those days, anybody who takes a leadership position has a great responsibility. And a king is seen as a divine person. The Tirukural mentions that if the king who administers people based on principles of justice will be seen like a divine person. This is mentioned in Tirukural. முறை செய்து காப்பாற்றும் மன்னவன் மக்களுக்கு இறையென்று வைக்கப்படும். This is in Tamil in Tirukkural. Whereby it says that a king who administers his kingdom based on principles of justice will be seen like a divine person. So that in this case, in Lanka, what is happening? Due to the leader, fail of leadership. In fact, Ravana could have been a great leader. He has all the ability to become a great leader, but because of his self-interest. Look at even Hanuman when he first looked at Ravana. He says, what a tejas, what a charm. Even Rama also, when he looked at Ravana, he also thought in that way. But of course, due to, even though a person can be great, but if the person is not good, it will not make anything, will not make any difference. So they keep lamenting, we have lost all our king and king. Surely death himself has come in form of Rama. They have heard that in the answer to the prayer of the oppressed holy man, Lord Shiva granted them the boon. For the destruction of demons, a woman will be born in this world, on this earth. Ravana obtained boon of invincibility from Brahma, but he ignored. He was very proud. He thought humans cannot defeat him, or humans, Nara and Vanara, he ignored. But he lost to Nara and also Vanara. He lost to Kartavirya Arjuna, easily defeated him. He lost to Vali, Vanara. Now he's facing Rama. See, Rama defeated Vali. Rama also defeated Parasurama. Parasurama, he didn't fight with Parasurama, but with his wisdom, he defeated Parasurama. But Parasurama defeated Kartavirya Arjuna. Kartavirya Arjuna defeated Ravana. So Kartavirya Arjuna defeated Ravana easily, and then Parasurama easily defeated Kartavirya Arjuna. Okay, and Parasurama was defeated by Rama in Balakandam, but they didn't fight war. Okay, then Vali was defeated. Vali easily defeated Ravana, and Vali was killed by Rama. Still Ravana unable to see the writings on the wall, see the things that are happening. Okay, he still want to possess. He still want to keep. If he has to release, he doesn't want to release. Okay, everyone in Lanka, except the ministers of Ravana, who are considered to be yes men. There are people who like to please the king. Okay, except for them, many of them advised him. His own wife, Mandodari. Okay, in some of the regional Ramayana, you find Danyamalini also will be crying and then advising Ravana that what happened to Adhikaya should not happen to any of the other son, including Indrajit. Danyamalini. But it is not recorded in Valmiki Ramayana. Okay, so here all the Rakshasis are saying that Vibhishana was wise and he had good time, sought Rama protection. And we have no one to protect us and nowhere to go. These are what all the Rakshasis were lamenting. And Ravana himself heard all the Rakshasis. He looked with great anger and at the demon chief and ordered them to march. And Ravana said to Mahodara, Maha, Parshva, and Virupaksha, today I shall myself kill Rama and Lakshmana, thus avenge the killing of Kara, Kubalkarna, Prahasta, and Indrajit. The heads of my enemy will roll on the ground. By their destruction, I shall wipe the tears of whose brothers and sons have been killed. Bring my chariot, bring my weapon, let my army follow to the battlefield. So Ravana going into the battlefield. The demon chief rounded every demon in Lanka, rushed them to the battlefield for the final and decisive combat. Final showdown between Rama and Ravana. Ravana got his special chariot, which surprised even the demons. On the battlefield itself, the warriors were saying one to another, here comes Ravana, the king of demons. Okay, here comes one who have abducted Sita, who is of evil conduct and who kills Brahmanas, terrorize even gods. Here he comes to fight with Rama. Surrounded by demon chief, the Rakshasas, Ravana approached the gate where Rama and Lakshmana were. Although there are many evil omens, as I said earlier, the Nimisha Sastra, Valmiki describes what are the evil omens, the Nimitta Sastra that Ravana saw. Okay, but Ravana proceeded disregarding that. He didn't even care. You remember earlier part, Dumraksha enters into a battlefield, Durmukha, all the earlier warriors also, when they go into the battlefield, there are many evil omens which they did not heed, and they went into the battlefield and they were defeated. The same here is happening to Ravana. And Ravana began to attack Vanara forces who fell in huge numbers. And then placing Susena in charge of the Vanaras, Sugriva went to fight with Ravana. With the rain of rocks, Sugriva went to fight with the Rakshasas. Okay. With the rain of rocks, he killed thousands, countless demons. The demon Virupaksha came to their rescue. And he directed volley of shots at Sugriva, who undoubted by this picked up a big tree, hit the elephant, which retreated and trumpeted. Virupaksha jumped down from the elephant and rushed towards Sugriva. And Sugriva took a huge rock and hurled it at Virupaksha, who however escaped in time and struck Sugriva with his sword. This made Sugriva unconscious for a time. And recovering after a little while, Sugriva struck the demon with his clenched fist. And the demon hit Sugriva again with a sword. And Sugriva actually fell down, and quickly regaining his foothold, he gave a resounding slap on the chest of the demon. Virupaksha hit Sugriva with a clenched fist. Greatly enraged, Sugriva delivered a heavy and powerful blow to Virupaksha, who vomited blood, and the demon Virupaksha fell down dead. So Virupaksha has been defeated by Sugriva here. Sugriva, Maharaja Sugriva, King Sugriva defeated Virupaksha. Casualties on both sides were heavy. And the army on the battlefield was getting exceedingly thin. Ravana then turned to demon Mahodara and said, all my hope are now pinned on you, O Mahodara. Please proceed to the battle. And Mahodara went to the battlefield full of zeal and enthusiasm and was greeted by rocks and trees hurled at him by the Vanaras. While the Vanaras assailed the demons, Mahodara began to kill numerous Vanaras with his deadly missiles. Some of them ran to Sugriva for help, and Sugriva picked up a huge rock and directed towards Mahodara, who broke that rock to pieces with his missile. When Sugriva threw a huge tree at him, Mahodara tore that to pieces. And Sugriva picked up a mace that was lying on the battlefield, and with it smashed the demon's vehicle. Mahodara attacked Sugriva with his mace, and Sugriva responded. When Mahodara hurled his mace at him, Sugriva intercepted it. The mace fell down and broke, and Sugriva picked up a club from the battlefield and directed at the demon. Mahodara responded. Both of them collided in the air and fell on the ground. As two warriors thereafter fought with bare hands. After wrestling for a while, Mahodara picked up a sword and fought with it. So did Sugriva. Mahodara hit Sugriva with a sword. Undoubted by it, Sugriva cut off the demon's head with his sword. Sugriva was pleased. Ravana became angry and Rama was happy. Here the battle between Sugriva fought two demons. Okay, Virupaksha and also Mahodara. And then there is another one that is called Mahasparsha, attacks forces of Angada. With great destruction of Vararas at his hand, Angada was enraged and distressed. and picking up a mace, he hurled it at the demon, who temporarily rendered unconscious by the blow. Utilizing this opportunity, Jambavan destroyed the demon's chariots. Regaining his consciousness, Mahaparshva again attacked Angada. Also, other Vanara heroes like Gavaskar and Jambavan. And once again, Angada directed his mace at the demon. This knocked down the demon's weapon from his hand and tossed the helmet from his head. Angada also landed a powerful blow on the demon. Mahasparsha threw a terrible looking axe at Angada, who luckily dodged it. And cleansing his fist firmly, Angada aimed a mighty blow at the vital parts of the demon. As the fist landed on his breast with the strength of a thunderbolt, his chest burst open and the demon fell dead. So Valmiki is describing that the blow of Angada, the fist that landed, okay, on Mahasparsha's breast from Angada had the strength of a thunderbolt of Indra, because Angada is a grandson of Indra. Vali is a son of Indra. Vali is a Amsha of Indra. And Angada, son of Vali, is a grandson of Indra. Seeing this, Ravana was utterly confused and enraged, and the Vanaras rejoiced. They were happy to see that Angada defeated Mahasvarsha. And Ravana, now, after his three commanders, the earlier commander-in-chief, that Prahasta was killed much longer before Indrajit was killed. So he had Mahodara, he had Virupaksha, and also Mahaparshva. All these three were killed. Mahodara and Virupaksha was killed by Sugriva, and then Mahaparshva was killed by Angada. Now Ravana said to his driver, "Drive on, I shall myself kill Rama and Lakshmana, and thus destroy root and branch. This wicked army has taken such a heavy toll on my people." Ravana took up a terrible missile which spread darkness and killed numerous Vanaras with it. And seeing this, Rama came forward to challenge Ravana. Now the demons began to fall in great numbers. Lakshmana attacked Ravana, who easily neutralized all his missiles. Thereafter, Ravana went over to Rama himself and directed a hail of shots at him. But Rama covered them with an anti-missile known as Balla. Ravana hit Rama's rose with his missiles, but Rama remained unaffected. Rama directed the terrible missiles dedicated to Rudra to Ravana, who took it calmly. And then Ravana thereafter used missile, which seems to have heads of lions, tigers, vultures, jackals, serpents, donkey, boars, dogs, alligator. So all the different animals, the missiles that he used. Ravana noticed this and used missiles dedicated to the god of fire, Agni Astras, head resembling fire, the sun, moon, planets, and lunar mansions. All Rama neutralized it in the air. Ravana then directed Rudra missile at Rama. From this came forth diverse weapons, maces, clubs, and tridents. Rama counteracted the effect of this missile by using Gandharva missile. Ravana then used sun god missile. This gave rise to numerous inconceivable destructive power. Rama dealt with them effectively with his own weapon. Lakshmana shot Ravana's flag and tore it up. He killed Ravana's chariot driver. He even broke the flagstaff of Ravana's chariot. Ravana then turned all his fury against Vibhishana. He started with his harsh word against Vibhishana, okay, insulting Vibhishana and all that. And then he hurled a terrible weapon known as Sakti at him. And Lakshmana intercepted the weapon because he There is a Rama said we should protect Vibhishana because we have given the word to Vibhishana that Vibhishana will be the next king of Lanka. Nothing should be, Vibhishana should not be killed. So based on the word that is given by Ravana, Lakshmana saw if that weapon comes towards Vibhishana, Vibhishana will be killed. So Lakshmana went and intercepted it, and it fell down terribly. Sparks of a fire fly from it. Enraged, Ravana then turned to Lakshmana. Ah, you are cowering Vibhishana. I shall take your life with this Shakti. It was an extremely powerful weapon that was infallible. As it came flying towards Lakshmana, Rama prayed. The weapon hit Lakshmana, made him unconscious. Rama was shocked when it hit Lakshmana and made Lakshmana unconscious. But Rama said to himself, this is not the time for grief, and he continued to fight with great fury. But the Vanaras could not extract the Sakti from Lakshmana's body. Rama himself had to do it. As he was thus helping his brother, Ravana shot him several times. Angered, Rama said to the Vanaras, protect Lakshmana from all sides. I turn to Ravana and get rid the world of him. On account of this, I have endured, and on account of him, I have endured great sorrow. I shall give up all the sorrow after killing this Ravana. On the account of him, I had to drag numerous Vanaras to this battle. Today I shall, by killing this Ravana, perform a great deed. We shall be remembered and recalled for all time to come throughout the world. Unable to face the terrible missile which Rama now used, Ravana fled the battlefield. So when Ravana withdrew from the battlefield, Rama returned to Lakshmana. Seeing him lying unconscious as if dead, Rama was stricken with grief. He lamented, seeing my brother dearer to me than my own life. I have no power to fight. My weapon slips from my hand. My legs have no strength to support me. There is no strong desire. There is a strong desire to give up my life. What will I gain by victory when my brother is no more? How will I face my king's folk without him? He followed me to the forest. I shall follow him in that. This is what Rama is lamenting. Vanara Susena, who is also the doctor. Susena, also another Susena, who is a father-in-law of Sugriva. Okay, in Susena is a Vanara. If you look into Ramcharitmanas and also some regional Ramayana, there is a Vanara called, there is a demon called Susena, who is a doctor of Raja Vaidya of Ravana, whom Hanuman will go to Lanka and he will call Susena to come and heal, to what they call, to give medicines to Lakshmana, to help Lakshmana to recover. But Susena will tell his dharma is for the king. But there will be an argument between what is his dharma. Should a doctor's dharma to the king, or is a doctor dharma is to his profession? Vaidya dharma. So at the end, it was concluded that his dharma as a doctor is more important than the dharma for his kingdom. So he was being made aware, for every doctor, every Vaidya or even doctor, the enemy is a disease. The patient can even be an enemy, but it is his duty to nurse the patient. So that is on that you will find in some of the regional Ramayana. But here the Susena is a Vanara. So Susena will tell Rama that Lakshmana is not there. Hence, give up the grief. He said to Hanuman, go quickly and fetch the life-saving herbs that you have fetched before, growing on a Mahodaya mountain. Remember earlier, if you look at the chapter, if I'm not mistaken, in chapter 74, 75, if I have to recheck again, where when all the Vanaras, including Rama and Lakshmana, were unconscious, Vibhishana and Hanuman was conscious, was able to move around. And Jambavan saw Vibhishana and Vibhishana, he was not able to recall. He can remember that from the voice, he recalled it is Vibhishana. First thing Jambavan asked Vibhishana, is Hanuman alive? Then Vibhishana will be shocked. He'll be asking, why are you asking about Hanuman? Why not Rama, Lakshmana, even Sugriva? Then Jambavan will say that if Hanuman is alive, everyone will be alive. So then he will tell Hanuman to go and fetch the herbs. So Hanuman will go. So Hanuman already have taken the herbs before. He knew where it is located. So he knew the roads. Okay. So Hanuman knew the roads which he has previously taken, pointed to him by Jambavan. So with great expedition, he went to get what do you call the Sanjeevi, the mountain. So you have that Sanjeevi Karani, Vichala Karani, all the herbs, the 4 herbs are there. All the different types of herb is mentioned. What is the purpose of those herbs and everything is being mentioned. So of course, in some regional Ramayana, what will happen when Ravana came to know about it, he will send a demon called Kalanemi to go and disrupt. Kalanemi will take the form of a ascetic, and of course that is found in the original Ramayana. But in Valmiki Ramayana, it is not mentioned. Kalanemi is not mentioned. The incident where Hanuman will have to fight with Kalanemi, okay, and then he will take the herbs. And in Ramcharitmanas, it is mentioned that when Hanuman was returning, okay, actually it's when Rama and Lakshmana was unconscious the earlier time and Indrajit, but there is an episode in Ramcharitmanas where when Hanuman was returning with the mountain Sanjeevi, Bharata saw that, he thought somebody is going to harm Rama, some demon is going to harm Rama, and then he shot an arrow and Hanuman fell down. And finally, when Hanuman narrated everything, when he fell, he was chanting Rama, 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 and Bharata was shocked. Who is he chanting the name of Rama? And when Hanuman narrated all that things happen, and then Hanuman will be returning back to where the Lakshmana lying wounded. And in Ramcharitmanas, it is mentioned that Hanuman had met Bharata before meeting Bharata at the end of Ravana Vadam, and when he went to convey the message of Rama's victory. He already met Bharata. This is not mentioned in Valmiki Ramayana. Valmiki Ramayana has no incident that has been narrated whereby Hanuman will be meeting Bharata on the way back. When he was going back to Lanka with the mountain. Okay, so when Hanuman came with the mountain Sanjeevi, of course Sushena able to cure Lakshmana. And inhaling the herb, Lakshmana regained consciousness. Rama was happy, but he continued to be sentimental. If he have not been revived, my victory would be useless. Okay, that's what Rama said. And reminded of the gravity of the situation, Rama directed his fire in direction of Ravana's army. Soon Ravana himself reappeared in his chariot, covered Rama with his weapon. The celestials, the devas, felt that the duel was ill-matched. Ravana had a chariot, it's a chariot, and Rama was standing on the ground. So Devendra dispatched his own chariot with a driver, Matali. The chariot had green horses according to Valmiki. Okay. Matali raised a chariot in form of Rama and said, Indra has sent his chariot, his powerful weapons, including Sakti weapon, for your use and to enable you to gain victory. Sakti weapon is one of the weapons that Indra has. Remember in Mahabharata, when Karna has given his Kavasa and Kundala to Indra, who came as to back arms from Karna. In return, Indra gave him Shakti weapon. But he said the Shakti weapon you can only use once. But he was keeping the Shakti weapon. Karna was keeping it for Arjuna, but he had no choice but to use it against Gadogacha. Gadogajan he used against Gadogajan because of the stress and the pressure that is coming from Duryodhana and all, because Garuda was creating a havoc. So he used it for killing Garuda. So the Shakti weapon from Indra is also brought to Rama to enable Rama's victory. So a fierce battle ensued. Ravana discharged missile that turns into venomous snakes. Rama neutralized it by using Garuda released by the eagles in the air. Greatly enraged, Ravana used more powerful missiles and harassed Rama, who could not even use his weapons freely. Celestials exhorted Rama, and demons exhorted Ravana. They later took up a terrible weapon, a trident, very strong. Okay, and he said, Rama, when I hurl this, you will be dead. As it came towards Rama, Rama tried to intercept with missiles which were reduced to ashes by the trident. And Rama then used the Sakti of Indra, and it managed to destroy the trident. And the trident was split and it fell on the ground. And Rama pursued this by further attacking Ravana. Tormented by the missiles of Rama, Ravana became terribly enraged. Okay, he literally covered Rama with his fire. However, Rama successfully intercepted all the missiles of Ravana. In that inspiring battle, in the dust and the fire raised by the battle, even Rama and Ravana could not be seen. Rama said to Ravana, "Oh Ravana, I guess you think you are a great hero. You are not. By the very fact you stole, without my knowledge, my wife Sita from Janasthana, it's a proof that you are no hero. You laid your hands on another's wife when she was unprotected. Yet you consider yourself a hero. You will now suffer the consequences of that wicked action. Shamelessly, you carried Sita away when she was alone. If you had attempted to do so in my presence, you should have joined Kara in the other world. Luckily, you have appeared yourself before me. I shall sever your head from your body, and bees and vulture will feed on your flesh." This is what Rama said to Ravana. Rama's anger augmented its strength. The divine missile, as it were, sought Rama's presence at that time. He also perceived good omens. The Nimitta Sastra was good for Rama and was greatly encouraged by that. Rama fought furiously. Ravana was overwhelmed by the missile of Rama. Seeing the utter confusion of Ravana, his driver drove the chariot away from the battlefield. Driver took Ravana away from the battlefield because the driver is his dharma is to protect the warrior. Okay, so when Ravana realized what the charioteer had done, he became very angry, very angry. He said to the charioteer, "You disgrace my name. You have shamed my valor. My glory has been effaced by this cowardly action of yours. When my enemy was looking on, I was eager to fight. You drove the car away from the battlefield. If you do not take me back at once, I shall be compelled to conclude that you have been bribed by the enemy to bring disrepute to me." So the charioteer have explained, "Oh master, it is the duty of a good driver to be aware of the condition and strength of his master, of the condition of battlefield, the strength and weaknesses of the enemy. He should know when to attack and when to retreat." It's actually very detailed description given in Mahabharata. Also, you will find many. Even when Sanjaya was interviewed to become a character of Dhritarashtra, some of the questions were asked about the role of a character, and he beautifully described something on this too. You will find that in Mahabharata too, about what is who is a charioteer and what's the role of the charioteer, or even in the modern context, we can look into as like a driver. So he has to be aware of the condition of the master, condition of the battlefield, okay, condition of the ground, all that strength and weaknesses of the enemy, when to retreat, what to advise. Sometimes the charioteer can also be an advisor. Krishna became a good advisor to Arjuna. Krishna took the role of a charioteer. But of course, we learn in Mahabharata, in Salya Parva, not Salya Parva, sorry, in Karna Parva, uh, Salya became the charioteer of Karna. Salya is the uncle of the Pandavas. because he's the uncle of what you call Nakula and Sahadeva. Salya is a brother of Madri. So Salya in the beginning wanted to go and fight for Pandavas, but Duryodhana on the way give him a huge feast, but he didn't know it was Duryodhana. But finally, Salya had no option but to fight for Duryodhana. But he went to see Yudhishthira. Yudhishthira told him, if you happen to become a charioteer of Karna, try your level best to demotivate him. So that's what happened in Karna Parva is that Salya will be demotivating Karna. Yeah. On the other side, Arjuna was always being motivated by Krishna. So because of the demotivation that he hear, his mind, these are all the curse that he has to go through. Karna had many curse. Arjuna had many blessings. So Karna is also a great warrior, but of course in Vyasa Bharata, Vyasa did not portray anything that very good about Karna, but you will find it more in some of the regional Mahabharata. In Tamil, you have a Mahabharata that is called Villiputtur Mahabharata, and then you have other Mahabharata, also many other regional Mahabharata. I remember there is one scholar whom I know who have made commentary and written on the Mahabharata in Odisha, Oriya Mahabharata. It is called Sarala Mahabharata. Now, some of you wants to do a search, you can do a search. People who are interested in Mahabharata can do a search variation in Mahabharata, many Mahabharatas. But of course, just like Ramayana, the original is Valmiki for Ramayana. Mahabharata is Vyasa Bharata, Vyasa Mahabharata. Okay. So the driver explained to Ravana, and Ravana said, okay, his driver said, now command me to take the car back to the battlefield. I shall certainly do so. Thus fulfill my duty to my masters, whose favors I have not forgotten. So what will happen now in this chapter 105, battlefield between battle Rama and Ravana's battle. Sage Agastya will appear, okay, at the scene of the battle along with the Devas, the gods. Seeing Rama was fatigued by prolonged combat with Ravana and said to him, "O Rama, listen carefully to this secret. It is the heart of the sun, and its constant repetition is conducive to victory and all auspiciousness. To the destruction of enemy, worship the sun, O Rama. He is the very essence of all gods, and he alone protects all beings. He is the controller of all celestial bodies. He is the splendor of splendors." So he will be giving what is called Aditya Hridayam. You can do some search, even if you do a Google search, you will find that's a detail is there. Valmiki Ramayana also provides a detail. Okay, what I'm giving is just a summary here, summary of what Agastya mentioned. So you go through those of you who are in a group, WhatsApp group. For every lesson, I will give you preliminary readings. In the preliminary readings, I give you just the English translation of Valmiki Ramayana of that relevant chapters. Translated by Krishna Sharma, read ramayana.org. You can read this particular chapter there. And for those of you who have the Gita Press, you can read this chapter in your language. You have from science, it can be in English, it can be Hindi. If you are familiar with Hindi, you read in Hindi. If you are familiar with Tamil, you can read in Tamil, in Telugu or in Malayalam or any other language. Because as far as I know, the Gita Press edition of Valmiki Ramayana is translated into all the regional languages in India. It's there in Hindi, it's in Tamil, in all the languages. You can read from there too. Okay, 105. Okay, of course, those ones who read in English, it is there in English translation. You have in Sanskrit and you have in English. It is given in Sanskrit and English. Those who know the Sanskrit, who can read in this based on the Devanagari script, you can read from there directly. Those of you who have read in Sanskrit. Okay, I am not somebody who have read in Sanskrit, so I have to rely on the English translation. Okay, so Agastya will say, the sun, O Rama, is a creator and destroyer of everything. He is awake even in those who sleep. He is the Lord of all action. He who worships the suns never comes to grief and overcome fear and calamities. You will this very moment conquer Ravana. So saying, Agastya withdrew. Rama sipped water, looked at the sun, recited the prayer, and advanced towards Ravana, his heart filled with delight. So in fact, Rama is his ancestor. He comes from the Surya Vamsha. the lineage of Surya. Okay, lineage of Surya. And then if you look into the warriors of Mahabharata, they come from the lineage of Chandra Vamsa. Rama is from Surya. And at the same time, Ravana's driver also brought his chariot to the battlefield. Rama said to Matali, please be vigilant and calm, for a time has come for me to destroy this demon. Hence, it is vital that you should not be confused nor yield to anxiety, but drive the car vigilantly, the chariot, the car vigilantly and swiftly. I'm sure that being Indra's own driver, you need not to be told all this. Yet, since my whole being is concentrated on this combat, I'm reminding you but not admonishing you. So the final battle between Rama and Ravana followed. At that time, Ravana saw many evil omens. Rama saw many auspicious and good omens. Knowing the meaning and significance of these omens, Rama was happy. This was augmented, this greatly augmented its strength and valor. This is again in Ramana you can find the Nimitta Shastra, Sapana Shastra, Sakuna Shastra. Many times it has been narrated, it has been reported by Ravana. Sometimes through Nimitta Shastra, although some people think, but there are certain things nature will tell us. You remember during the time of tsunami, the animals and all that, they already realize, they can realize, they know there are certain things the calamity is coming. But humans are not able to read that. There are things that we have to see. Okay, sometimes from the environment itself, we must be able to read certain things. If you are able to do that, it will be a very good things that you can prevent any calamities. Okay, if you are good in reading the omens, science of omens, it's actually a shastra itself. There is a Nimitta Shastra and Sakuna Shastra. Okay, when Rama and Ravana began to fight, the army stood watching them. Rama was determined to win. Ravana was sure. Ravana was sure he would die. Knowing this, they fought all their might. Ravana attacked Rama's chariot. Rama similarly shot on Ravana's chariot. While Ravana's chariot fell, Rama's did not. Ravana then aimed at the horses of Rama's chariot. Even though he attacked them with all his might, they remained unaffected. Both of them discharged thousands of missiles. These illumined the skies and created new heaven, as it were. They were accurate in their aim, and their missiles unfailingly hit the target. With unflagging zeal, they fought each other without the least of fatigue. One did the other in retaliation. Ravana shot Matali, who remained unaffected by it. Ravana then sent showers of missiles at Rama. The very sound agitated the ocean and tormented the aquatic creatures. The celestials and Brahmanas witnessing prayed, may auspiciousness attend to all living beings. May the world endure forever. It's a very important prayer. When we pray, we always pray, may there be auspiciousness to the entire world. May there be peace to the entire world. May all the people in the world are happy. Sarve janata sukhino bhavantu. Okay, you have to always pray in that way, May all world endure forever. May Rama conquer Ravana. Astounded at the way in which Rama and Ravana fought, the sages said to one another, sky is like sky, ocean is like ocean. The fight between Rama and Ravana is like Rama and Ravana, incomparable. Taking up a powerful missile, Rama correctly aimed at the head of Ravana. It fell, but another head appeared in its place. And every time Rama cut off Ravana's head, another appeared. And Rama was puzzled. What is happening? And Matali, Rama's driver said to Rama, "Why do you fight like an ordinary warrior, O Rama? Use the Brahma missile, use the Brahmastra. The hour of the demons that is at hand." He knows the time is already there for Ravana. Ravana time is already approaching. Then Rama remembered the Brahmastra which sage Agastya had given him. It had the power of the Vayudeva for its feathers, the power of fire, sun as its head, the whole space as its body, the weight of a mountain. It shone like a sun or the fire. As Rama took it in his hand, the earth shook, all the living beings were terrified. Brahmastra is a destructive weapon. Brahmastra, even you find Mahabharata also mentions about it. You remember when Arjuna, when he released, he's able to retract. Ashwatthama was not able to do it. So he sent towards the Vamsha of Pandavas. That's in Mahabharata, you have that. The description about Brahmastra. Brahmastra, when Rama took, the earth shook, all the living beings were terrified, infallible in its destructive power. This ultimate weapon of destruction shattered the chest of Ravana and entered deep into the earth. Ravana fell dead, and the surviving demons fled, pursued by the Vanaras. Vanaras shouted in joy. The air resounded with drums of celestials. The gods, devas, all praised Rama. The earth became steady, the wind blew softly, and the sun was resplendent as before. Rama was surrounded by mighty heroes and gods who were all joyfully facilitating him on the victory. So Ravana was killed. But this is not the end of Yuddhakanda. Yuddhakanda, we still have two more sessions on Yuddhakanda. Next session, 31st, we are going to look into Sita's Agni Pariksha. And then after that, 32nd will be Pattabhisheka. But Agni Pariksha part, there will be, those who are in the WhatsApp group, I'll be giving you some readings for you. And then because when I go to the topic on Agni Pariksha, there is also other areas to look into. In Uttarakanda of Ramayana, whereby Rama will banish Sita. But you have to remember, Rama not only banished Sita, he will also banish Lakshmana towards the end when he was about to leave. Lakshmana also will be banished. That will be narrated in Uttarakanda. Why he had to banish Lakshmana and all, it is given in Uttarakanda. It's not only Sita he banished. Why he banished Sita? There are arguments from many sides, but you have to look into from the king's perspective at that particular period of time. But of course, I'm going to give you some readings based on scholars and commentators of Ramayana who have analyzed the Agni Pariksha and also the banishment parts. Two parts of arguments. Maybe before you go into 31st session, there will be, you can do some readings on that. I will share with you on that part. And also, I'm not sure any of the character analysis I did not send. And tell me. If not, I will check. Anybody I have not sent, I will send. Maybe by end of this session, all the major characters, the analysis done by Hari Krishnan, I will send to you. And I will also provide you with recommendation of further readings. Anybody interested to go more into Valmiki Ramayana analysis, there are more books there. One of the book is Lectures in Srimad Valmiki Ramayana by Right Honorable Srinivasa Sastri, which is a very good analysis he has done on that, apart from the text that you are reading, okay, which is Gita Press or even the valmikiramayana.net. So in this chapter 108, Ravana has been killed. So remember that in Rama Avataram, Vishnu killed Vishnu in form of Rama have killed Ravana and Kumbhakarna. And who are Ravana and Kumbhakarna. Kumbhakarna, if you go into the Purana called Bhagavata Purana, they are the gatekeepers of Vaikuntha. One is called Jaya, the other one is Vijaya. Jaya and Vijaya was cursed by the four Kumaras to be born as in this world. First they came as a Hiranyakasipu and Hiranyaksa. Hiranyaksa was killed by the Lord in form of Varaha Avatara. There is a Purana called Varaha Purana, Varaha Avatara. And then Hiranyakasipu was killed by the Lord in form of Narasimha. Okay, then they came back again in Trita Yuga as Ravana and Kumbhakarna. Later in Dwapara Yuga, they will be coming as Sisubala and Dantavakra and will be killed by Krishna. So if you look at the history, who Ravana is Jaya, the gatekeeper of Vaikuntha, as per Bhagavata Purana. But this is not mentioned in Valmiki Ramayana. But you have to see it from the Purana, the other Puranas. And if you study Adhyatma Ramayana, which is a spiritual version of Rama story, Rama Saga, and Yelutachan, Tenchettu Yelutachan in Malayalam followed exactly, the Malayalam Ramayana is exactly following similar to Adhyatma Ramayana. In Adhyatma Ramayana, Ravana knows that he will be killed by Rama. And then Sita also know that Ravana will come and attack him. So Sita that will be carried by Ravana in Adhyatma Ramayana is a Maya Sita. Sita who came from the fire. Okay, real Sita enters into the fire. The Maya Sita from the fire will be taken by Ravana. And you also find it similar followed in other original version, Ramcharitmanas, and also some other versions. But it is not given that in Valmiki Ramayana. Okay, so with the completion of 30th session, Ravana Vadam have been completed. The purpose of Rama's avatara completed here with the killing of Ravana. Remember in Balakandam chapter 16, all the devas surrendered to Vishnu, Narayana, to come. To why they surrendered? Because of the havoc created by Ravana. And then Vishnu said he will appear as Rama for the destruction of Ramayana, the destruction of Ravana, and the purpose of the avatara has been completed here. So that actually completes our 30th session of Srimad Valmiki Ramayana class, 30th session of Srimad Valmiki Ramayana class. And of course, just like any other sessions, you can look at the learning from this chapter. These what we call sessions. We looked at chapters 93 to 108. So remaining, we have 20 chapters to cover. There are only 20 chapters that remains, and the 20 chapters will be covering in next two sessions. Okay. Next week will be Sita's Agni Pariksha will be there, and all the other coronation. It will be what they call Vibhishana Pattabhisheka, and then Sita Agni Pariksha and all that. And then after that, starting of Rama's journey back to Ayodhya, all that, and then Pattabhisheka will be on the 32nd. And even to those who have not been regular attending, good, those who are regular who have been attending, if you are able to attend that particular session on Rama Pattabhisheka, even that particular Rama Pattabhisheka or chapter 128 of Srimad Valmiki Ramayana, it is very official, it's a good chapter to read. Anybody who reads with faith and devotion, it is very beneficial to those people. That part on Pattabhisheka. Okay, that will be covered on the 32nd session of Srimad Valmiki Ramayana class. So after this session, we have two more sessions, as I said to you. So we are going to end the 30th session with a normal prayer. Sri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tatpurya Ramanama Varanane. Actually, the meaning of this mantra is that it is actually part of Vishnu Sahasranama. In Vishnu Sahasranama, Parvati will be asking, is there a summary? Vishnu Sahasranama is 1,000 names of Vishnu. So the summary of Vishnu Sahasranama is here, where Lord Shiva will say that even by chanting the name of Rama, Rama, Rama is equivalent to chanting the 1,000 names of Vishnu. This is what the meaning. It's just like you chant. It simply means just like if you chant Rama, Rama, Rama is equivalent to you chant 1,000 names of Vishnu. That is the meaning of this mantra. Actually, this mantra came from Lord Shiva telling Parvati. You can do some search on this mantra. You will know the meaning of this mantra here. All right. So if you have questions, you can put in the chat. I can after 2 or 3 more sessions, then okay, I will answer. I will put an answer and I will share in the chat session. Valmiki Ramayana, our chat group, WhatsApp group. All right. Thank you to everybody.